In this video, I'm going to show you how to use alter egos to unlock your feminine energy, turn on your full power as a woman, and access different sides of yourself that maybe have been a little suppressed. Now, one of the easiest ways to do this is through feminine archetypes, because these archetypes kind of act as little alter egos that you can step into. Here's the thing, most of us get stuck living in just one version of ourselves, when really, we are much more complex than that. That is a way that we unconsciously hold ourselves back and self-sabotage and keep ourselves small. But when you learn how to shift into these archetypes on purpose with intention, that is when you step into your full potential as a human being and as a woman. You can bring the right energy into every situation, whether it's a date, a business meeting, or just everyday life. And so this is a way that you can tap into your power and your full range as a woman. So let's dive in. Hey friend, welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Jillz and I help women step into their power, tap into their divine feminine, and become their best self, live their best life. So if that's something you want to do, you should subscribe and stick around. So we're going to be talking about the 7 feminine archetypes and how to use them as powerful alter egos. But if you don't yet know your main natural dominant archetype, I actually made a quiz. It's linked down below and you can take it. It's very quick, very easy. Just make sure that you are honest with your answers. So before we dive into the 7 different archetypes, let me explain why this approach is so powerful and why it works. Like I said, we often only bring forward 1, maybe 2 versions of ourselves. Maybe you're always the achiever because that's what gets you approval. Or maybe you're the caretaker because that's what makes you feel needed. Or maybe you're the chill girl because you don't like to cause problems. And we start to believe like, well, this is just who I am. I'm the shy one. I'm the serious one. I'm the independent one. Oh, I'm the type A girl. And we think that's our whole identity, but here's the truth. That's just your default setting right now. That's the version of you that you've practiced the most, but it's not the only version of you that exists. And when you want to be in your feminine energy, most people, especially in the beginning, they get it wrong because they assume that feminine energy means that you have to look and you have to show up in a specific way, when in reality, that couldn't be further from the truth. Feminine energy has range. Think about Mother Nature, the most perfect example of feminine energy. Sometimes she's beautiful, a 72-degree sunny day, and sometimes she is a storm, right? So this energy can look different from woman to woman, and it can look different for you on different days, in different situations. Think about it. Do you really want to show up to a business meeting in the same energy that you show up to a romantic date? Do you want to handle a crisis with the same energy that you use to hang out with your friends? Of course not, right? Different situations call for different versions of you, right? So the truth is you already have all these versions inside of you. But the reason why these archetypes work so well as alter egos is because it gives you permission to bring them out. Instead of waiting until you magically feel ready to start acting differently, you step into another version of yourself that already exists, but through that alter ego to make it easier, right? Think about it. You don't have to force yourself to be confident. Instead, you just think, okay, I'm gonna channel my queen energy right now. Or if you wanna feel sensual, you can slip into lover energy. And I'm gonna break down and explain all these different archetypes in a bit. But think about it like putting on a jacket. You're not reinventing yourself. You're just wearing the energy you need in the moment. And honestly, it's way easier and way more fun than trying to change your whole personality. Okay, so why do alter egos work so well though? Well, think about it. When you tell yourself, I need to be more confident, what immediately happens in your mind? You think, oh, that's not me. I don't know how to be confident. I've never been confident. You're literally fighting against your own identity and all the stories you've collected about why you're not that person. But when you're like, okay, I'm gonna channel my queen energy right now, suddenly there's much less resistance. You're not trying to change the entirety of who you are, you're just putting on your jacket. You're just shifting the vibe for a bit. Another reason why this works so well is honestly because it's just fun, right? Trying to tell yourself I need to be more confident, that sounds heavy, that sounds like homework. But stepping into your queen alter ego, that kind of sounds like playing dress up, but with energy instead of outfits. Plus, it feels safer to experiment with. Right? It's easier to play with different levels of boldness and softness and sensuality when you frame it as a character that you're stepping into, not changing who you are. And it keeps your ego out of it, right? So if it doesn't go well or if it's a little awkward, it doesn't necessarily bruise your ego or your self-esteem because it wasn't you, it was your alter ego. But here's the part that I love, and that's honestly kind of hard to explain. When you tell yourself, be more feminine, be more sensual, be more confident, oftentimes it's like, what? Well, okay, what does that mean though? It feels very vague in our system. Your brain doesn't know what to do with that and where to start. But if you picture it as a character, like how would my lover archetype walk into this party? Suddenly it clicks. You can see her in her mind. You can feel how she walks, how she'd smile, how she'd carry herself. It's like your body instantly knows what to do. If I told you to go walk into that coffee shop with more confidence, you'd be like, okay. But if I said go walk into that coffee shop like Beyonce, for some reason you'd get it. And that's the power of thinking in alter egos and archetypes. So the way I like to think about these archetypes is kind of like your inner cast of characters, and you can call on them in these different energies whenever you need them. Some will probably feel super natural and effortless to you, and some might feel a little bit more awkward or foreign to you. But remember, they're all inside of you. It's just that some haven't been given enough stage time yet. So when I go through these archetypes, you'll probably naturally see yourself in 1, 2, or maybe 3 of these archetypes, and you can think of those as like your natural, more default settings. So with that in mind, let's finally meet these 7 feminine archetypes, shall we? Your personal little alter egos to transform into your most magnetic, powerful self, depending on the moment, depending on whatever energy you need. Now, just for clarity and where this all comes from, the idea of archetypes come from the psychologist Carl Jung. And he basically said archetypes are these universal patterns that show up everywhere, in myths, in movies, and even in our own personalities, because they capture something essential about being a human. But the specific 7 that we're diving into today were popularized by Jean Shinato Boleyn in this book, Goddesses in Every Woman. I believe it was written in the 1980s, but it's a fun read if you're into this type of stuff. I'll link it below in case you want to check it out. But these 7 have become the framework for understanding different expressions of womanhood. But here's what I want you to remember. You're not just limited to these different 7 archetypes. Think of this as just kind of like a starting point to get you going and to tap into the different sides and versions of yourselves. But of course, you can create your own alter ego, you know, if that feels more aligned. The whole point is just to give you a framework to help you step into whatever energy you need whenever you need it. So I'm gonna give you a high-level overview of these archetypes, but a few years ago, I actually made a very, very detailed video on this, all about the 7 different feminine archetypes. It goes into way more depth with way more examples, talking about their strengths, their weaknesses, all of it. So if you wanna check that out after, I'll link it down below, and I'll also put it at the end of this video. And if you haven't taken the quiz, honestly, I would recommend pausing and doing that right now before you learn too much about the different archetypes, and then that might accidentally end up, skewing your answers, but it's up to you. So let's get into it. So the first archetype is the Maiden, and she's basically your main character energy alter ego. She's lightness and curiosity and pure joy, and she sees the world with fresh eyes and reminds you that life is supposed to be fun. And one of the reasons why this archetype is so magnetic is because of her youthful energy. So this is the version of you who gets excited about the little things, the version of you who goes to that new restaurant opening the weekend that it opens, who takes photos of her coffee because it's pretty, who plans spontaneous adventures and doesn't need permission to enjoy herself. So you can call on your maiden alter ego when you realize that, you know what, you're taking life too seriously. When you feel stuck in routine, when you've lost that optimistic, youthful, joyous spark in your life. The Maiden is your reminder that joy doesn't need to be earned, and she gives you permission to do things just because they're fun. Maybe that looks like trying a random new coffee shop, or saying yes to something spontaneous, or planning a mini solo weekend away just because it sounds fun. She doesn't need a reason, she just wants to enjoy herself, and that's the point. Using the Maiden is about letting yourself lighten up, get out of routine, and remember that joy is magnetic. So think of Elle Woods in Legally Blonde, or Serena van der Woodsen in Gossip Girl, or Emily from Emily in Paris. They all have similar vibes: spontaneous, youthful, curious, playful. Next is the Mother, and the Mother is the emotional safety alter ego, and she's exactly what she sounds like. She's the one who knows how to create that warm, cozy energy that makes everyone feel taken care of and loved. She makes the perfect cup of tea, she gives the best hugs, and she somehow always knows the right thing to say when someone's having a rough day. She's all about creating comfort and that mother-like safety for others, but also for yourself. So you'd call on her when you need to enter that loving, caretaking mode. When someone you love needs that soft, warm, grounding presence, or when you need that. Like if you're anxious or overwhelmed, or if life just feels chaotic, that mother energy is what makes everything feel safe again. So if you want to activate your mother alter ego, think of little rituals that feel like a hug. Making tea or soup, or journaling, or cuddling a pet, or even just setting up your space in your home so it feels a little bit more like a sanctuary. You know, being the homemaker to your home, even if it's just you in your tiny little apartment. And think about the way that you talk to yourself. Talk to yourself in that gentle, forgiving, loving voice that a mother would to their own child, or maybe that you would to your best friend. My favorite example of mother energy is Miss Honey from the movie Matilda. I loved that movie when I was younger. And also Molly Weasley from Harry Potter. Just watch out for the mother archetype's shadow side, because the mother can easily slip into overgiving mode. You know, where you're taking care of everyone else except yourself. So remember that part of being in that mother energy is also mothering yourself. Next is the lover, and your lover is the sensual magnetism alter ego. And she's all about embracing your sensual, passionate side. You know, she's the one who moves through life with that slow, confident energy that draws people in. She savors experiences, whether that's the taste of really good wine, or her silk PJs on her skin, or the way candlelight makes everything feel a little bit more romantic and intimate. She's all about pleasure and connection, not just romantic, although she is definitely a romantic, but also connection to your own body, to beauty, to all the things that make you feel alive. So you'd call on this energy and harness this alter ego when you want to feel more magnetic and sensual, you know, when you're going on a date, or honestly, when you just want to feel more connected to your own pleasure. So if you want to activate the lover inside of you, think about engaging all of your senses. Take a longer shower with really good music. Wear something that feels amazing to wear. Light candles just because. Savor a little square of dark chocolate before bed. Or move your body in a way that feels a little bit more sensual, a little bit more fun, maybe like dancing in your bedroom. On a date, instead of rushing through dinner, she'd actually savor her food. Make eye contact, speak a little slower, be a little bit more relaxed, and being fully present in the moment. It's about slowing down. It's about letting a little bit of romance into your life and feeling connected to what feels good. The best classic example of the lover is, of course, Marilyn Monroe, but also Samantha Jones from Sex and the City, or Jessica Rabbit, you know, in that movie Who Framed Roger Rabbit. They are all slow and sultry and in touch with their senses. Next, the queen. And the queen is your self-respect and command alter ego. She's the version of you that knows her worth and isn't afraid to show it. She's the one who walks into a room and naturally commands attention, not because she's trying to, but because it's just who she is. She carries herself with that quiet confidence that says, I belong here. She sets boundaries without over-explaining. She speaks up, and she doesn't shrink herself to make other people feel comfortable. So the queen is all about owning your power and leading from a place of self-respect. So you would call on the queen when you need to have a difficult conversation with someone, or when you're negotiating your salary, or when someone's crossed a boundary, or when you need to tap into your leadership skills. And honestly, anytime you need to step into your authority and remind yourself, or everyone else, of your worth. So if you want to activate your queen alter ego, first think about your posture. Stand taller. Slow down your movements. Speak with intention. Wear something that makes you feel a little regal, right? Wear something that makes you feel powerful. Practice saying no without over-explaining, or just remind yourself of your accomplishments before you walk into that meeting. It's about embodying that energy of someone who respects herself fully and completely. Think Blair Waldorf in Gossip Girl. She's my favorite example of queen energy. She is a natural leader and quietly strategic, and she just, for some reason, exudes regal, authoritative energy. But watch out, because sometimes the queen, if taken too far, can turn a little bit cold and calculating, which we also see with Blair Waldorf. Also, Beyonce is a good example, or even Zendaya. I think they give off strong queen energy. Commanding, self-respect, I know my worth energy. The next archetype is the Huntress, and she is the laser-focused, independent alter ego. She's the part of you that chases goals and lives life on her own terms. She's independent, she's adventurous, and she has that I can handle anything energy. And she reminds you that you don't need anyone's permission to go after what you want. She's the version of you that starts the business. She's the version of you that flies to the other side of the world for a month and just goes, and she just figures it out and she handles it. She's the one that signs up for that challenging class without asking anyone else's opinion first. She's that athletic side of you. She's comfortable being alone and actually thrives in her independence. And she's not the person who's waiting around, waiting for someone else to make things happen. She makes things happen for herself. So you'd call on your Huntress alter ego when you want to be laser focused on a goal, or when you're feeling too dependent on others for validation, or when you're feeling too dependent on others to live a good life, or when you just need that "I've got this" type of confidence to tackle challenges on your own. So if you want to activate your Huntress alter ego, think about creating a clear goal and a plan to achieve it. And maybe go for a solo walk or go work out to try to clear your head and strategize about it. If you want to activate your Huntress alter ego, practice saying "I'll figure it out" instead of immediately asking for help. Start trusting yourself and your ability to handle whatever comes your way. Think Katniss Everdeen from the Hunger Games, that self-reliant, determined energy, or even Serena Williams with that unstoppable drive and focus, or my favorite, Barbara Corcoran from Shark Tank. She built her real estate empire from basically nothing with that "I'll figure it out" mentality. Next is the Sage, and the Sage is your wisdom and intuition alter ego. And she's the part of you that just knows things. She's thoughtful, she's reflective, she's smart, she's witty, and she is not emotionally reactive. Okay, the Sage has calm, grounded energy, and it's the kind of energy that people are drawn to for advice. But she's also your inner intellectual. She's the version of you that loves to learn, that loves to ask questions. She likes to have deep, thoughtful conversations. She can see the bigger picture, she can trust her gut, and she isn't swayed by drama or chaos around her. This is the version of you that takes a step back before reacting, the one who friends go to for advice or need a little perspective or wisdom. She's the one reading books and listening to podcasts. She's the one where everyone she follows on Instagram or YouTube is educational. She's genuinely curious about how the world works and wants to expand her mind. She's not rushing to conclusions or getting caught up in everyone else's emotions. She's processing, she's reflecting, and responding in a grounded way from a place of inner knowing and understanding. So you'd call on your Sage alter ego when you're facing a big decision and need some clarity, or when everyone around you is panicking and you need to stay grounded, or when you want to have a meaningful, especially intellectual conversation, not just small talk. Also, you'd call on her when you want to just learn something new or tap into your intellectual side, or for example, if you're in grad school and you're studying for this big test, that's when you can tap into your Sage energy. So if you want to activate your Sage alter ego, pick up a book instead of scrolling on your phone. Ask follow-up questions in conversations. Learn something new. Step back from drama before responding so you can show up calm and grounded. Also, don't forget about your intuition. Listen to it. Here's a great practice. Journal to yourself as if your 70-year-old self is advising you on what to do. Just let that inner wise woman come through you. My favorite examples of the Sage are Amal Clooney or Hermione in Harry Potter, or even just Emma Watson in real life. She is definitely a Sage. And lastly is the Mystic. And the Mystic is your deeply intuitive, but mostly just spiritual and soulful alter ego. She trusts the unseen and follows her own inner knowing. And the Mystic is creative. She's usually a little bit artistic. She's spiritual, a little mysterious, a little ethereal. And like a corporate 9-to-5 job does not work for a Mystic. That is not her thing. She's a creative. She's mystical. She trusts the universe. She follows signs, and she isn't afraid of the magical side of life. She's the version of you who gets these intuitive downloads in the shower. She's the version of you who knows things without even knowing how she knows them. And she's the version of you who creates art and writes poetry simply because something inside of her needs to express itself. So you'd call on your Mystic alter ego when you need deep creative inspiration, or when you want to tap into your creative artistic side, or if you're disconnected from your intuition or your spiritual side, or if you need guidance in life but logic isn't cutting it, right? You need something from the nethers, from the beyond. So if you want to activate your Mystic alter ego, create some ritual or spiritual practice that feels good to you, whether that's praying or tarot cards or lighting candles and setting intentions, or even just going out in nature and seeing what comes through. Start trusting those gut feelings, even when they don't make 100% complete logical sense. Let yourself be a little bit mysterious and magical, or even a little bit messy sometimes, or a little bit witchy and whimsical sometimes. Or try this: sit down, light a candle, close your eyes, and ask the universe, God, whatever, a question that you have been wanting the answer to. And just sit there in silence and see what comes through. Don't force anything. Just see what comes. Be open. For celebrity examples, think Florence Welch's ethereal artistic energy, or Lana Del Rey, in her soulful, dreamy, poetic, deep vibe that she has. Okay, so that was the 7 archetypes, and that is kind of like your inner cast of characters. But how do you actually use them, and how do you step into them intentionally? First thing is to identify your defaults, right? Like, what archetypes feel natural to you? Which one came up for you when you took the quiz? Share your most dominant archetype or archetypes in the comments below, but also which archetypes feel really foreign and unfamiliar to you? Which archetypes feel like they're missing from your life? For me, I naturally live in the sage and maiden energy. I would say like that is my default, and that's what comes easiest to me. And also like with a little bit of the mystic, like that's what feels most natural to me. But my lover archetype, that used to feel so foreign and uncomfortable and unfamiliar to me. And I had to practice stepping into that energy and that alter ego. I had that lover inside of me, but for so long I couldn't access it. Second, use rituals to activate these archetypes. Your nervous system responds to cues, so give it some. Use scent or music or clothes or movement to tap into a different version of yourself. Want to channel your inner lover? Put on that perfume. Play music that makes you feel some type of way. Dance in your bedroom. Wear something that makes you feel beautiful. Buy yourself flowers. Need your queen energy? Stand taller, speak slower. Wear something that makes you feel powerful and regal. Calling in your inner maiden? Put on something colorful and playful. A sundress, right? A maiden and a sundress are like best friends. Also, make a fun playlist, do something spontaneous. And third, this is the game-changing question right here. Whenever you are in a situation or whatever, when you're going about life, you ask yourself, what version of me would handle this best? Before a difficult conversation, ask yourself, should my queen handle this, or does this need my sage's wisdom? Before a date, is this a lover moment, or is this a queen moment? When you're feeling stuck in your career, what would my inner huntress do? Or when you're feeling overwhelmed and stressed, how would my inner mother comfort me right now? And lastly, practice switching gears between these archetypes intentionally. Your full feminine power comes from practicing range, not trying to be perfectly balanced in all these different archetypes. Maybe you're queen energy at work, confident, boundary, commanding respect, or maybe you're a little bit of that huntress sometimes, that go-getter energy. But then you go home and shift into your mother energy with your family and with your kids. Warm, nurturing, creating safety. And then later, when you're getting ready for a night out with your partner, you shift into lover energy. Radiant, magnetic, alive, sensual, sexy. This isn't being fake or inconsistent or completely delulu. This is being a full, multifaceted woman who can meet life's demands with the exact energy that's needed. And through these little archetypes, these alter egos, you get to tap into the parts of you that you've been neglecting. And here's the thing, when you start using these archetypes as alter egos, you stop feeling stuck in just one version of yourself. You realize you don't have to choose between being strong or soft, playful or serious, independent or nurturing. It can all be there, it can all exist. And that's what makes you so magnetic and unstoppable as a woman, not being predictable, but having range, having contrast. The woman who can shift from queen energy in a meeting to lover energy on a date and pull out the sage's wisdom when her friend needs advice, that is captivating. That is powerful. Let me give you some real examples so you can see how this actually works. So scenario 1, you're going on a date. Instead of just being yourself, which might mean you end up getting really anxious and start overthinking everything, you step into your lover energy. You put on that music that makes you feel sensual. You wear something that makes you feel beautiful and a little bit sexy. You remind yourself that you are there to enjoy the experience and experience pleasure, not to audition for love. Scenario 2, you need need to have a difficult conversation at work. Instead of people-pleasing or avoiding the conversation, you channel your inner queen. You stand a little taller. You speak a little slower. You come into that conversation with self-respect. You remember that your needs and your opinions matter, and you're not there to be liked, you are there to be respected. Scenario 3, you've been working nonstop and you're feeling burnt out. Instead of just pushing through, you tap into your maiden energy. You give yourself permission to take a break, to do something fun just because. And remember that life is supposed to have joy in it, not just productivity. See how this works? You're not changing the core of who you are. You're just accessing different parts of yourself depending on what the situation calls for. But here's the thing, you can start small with this, and here's what I suggest you try, okay? Please do this. Pick one archetype that feels a little foreign or scary to you. You know, the one that makes you think like, ooh, that's not me, or I could never pull that off. Now you're gonna go somewhere where you don't know anyone. For example, like a coffee shop, or a bookstore, or the mall, or wherever. And you are going to show up as that alter ego. Okay, you're not gonna do this at work. You're not gonna do this when you see your parents or when you hang out with your friends. And the reason why is because it's so much easier to step into a different energy when no one is tying you to who you've always been. And so you're gonna go to that place, that bookstore, that coffee shop, the mall, wherever, as the lover, the maiden, the queen, the huntress, whatever, and see how it feels. Okay, you are gonna channel that energy, that alter ego, that is what you're gonna step into. And you're gonna go and you're gonna see how it feels. Order coffee as the queen. Browse books through the bookstore as the sage. Walk through the mall as the lover, and see how it feels to move through the world differently and tap into that energy. Every time you consciously step into a different archetype, the truth is you're becoming more connected to the entirety of who you are. You're just expanding your range and unlocking parts of yourself you might have forgot about. And when you start showing up as different parts of yourself, life starts responding differently to you. When you show up with queen energy, people respect you more. When you embody your lover, you feel magnetic. When you tap into the sage, you make better decisions. It's not magic. Well, maybe it's a little bit of magic, but it's really just you finally accessing the full spectrum of your feminine power. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was a more fun way to look at becoming your best, most powerful self. And if you haven't taken the archetype quiz, you should take it. It's linked down below, and let me know what your dominant archetype is in the comments. And if you want to dive deeper into these 7 archetypes, check out this video right here. I go way more in depth in this video, and I talk about each archetype and all of their strengths and their weaknesses and things to look out for, and way more examples and all of that. So I'll see you over there, or I'll just see you next time in my next video. Bye.